Story 1. The shocking truth. My wife went on a blind date. What the hell is going on? I guess I should start off by just trying to give some background. I, Gerry M46, am married to my high school sweetheart, Angela F45. We have been together for 32 years. We have known each other since kindergarten at Upson Elementary. We started dating when we were in the 8th grade and have never stopped. I really take pride in that. I mean it, we have never had a break. It's not our second time around. We have legitimately been either boyfriend-girlfriend, engaged or married, every day since we were 14 years old. We got married right after college. We were both 23 then. I went into accounting and got a good job with an accounting firm. I started my own firm when we moved to Rochester a few years later. My wife has been teaching either 3rd or 4th grade for the last 22 years. During that time we had 2 great kids. Our oldest daughter, Veronica F21, we had right away after we got married. We then had our son, Tom M19, 2 years later. We have lived a fairly normal American life. Entering this empty nest stage of our lives. Tom is a sophomore in college now and Veronica is a senior. They are both going to the University of Buffalo, which is nice because they are only an hour away. We are financially very well off. In fact, this hasn't been much of a stressor for us in over a decade, got a nice chunk of savings built up. I should be able to retire in about 10 years and so should she. We kind of have the typical tour the country in an RV plan when we get there. For 32 years now we have supported each other. Sure, we have had a few bumps along the road, but nothing major, nothing serious. We both have maintained a decent fitness level. We are social, we are friends with several couples. Our bedroom life has diminished some with age, but it is by no means dead. That's basically it. That's our lives in a nutshell. That's why I can't make sense of what happened last night. Everything leading up to last night seemed normal. I have been recounting the last few weeks all day and literally nothing sticks out. We both went to work yesterday. I got home about 5:45 p.m. When I got there I noticed that my wife was in the shower. Not her usual routine, but I didn't think anything of it. I went downstairs to get a start on dinner. I had picked up a couple of sirloins so I fired up the grill. I figured some au gratin potatoes and asparagus would pair well. I went on making the full meal. When I was getting close to done I went back to let my wife know dinner was ready. As I entered our master bedroom my wife was sitting at her vanity. The room smelled good and I could tell she had put on her favorite perfume. I had heard the hair dryer earlier but I figured that was just routine. She was sitting there looking amazing. Her highlighted brown hair glowed. She had these curls that spiraled down towards the front of her face. I don't really know how to describe it but she definitely put some effort into it. She was wearing nothing but this matching lacy bra and panty set. The bra really pushed up and showed her girls off. She was doing her makeup and I said to her, "Hey babe, dinner is ready." Is there something I missed? Do we have plans?" She didn't turn, just kept doing her makeup and said, "No, just me, I'm going on a blind date tonight." I laughed, thinking she was just being ridiculous. I said, "Okay," in a silly tone and continued, "Well, dinner's ready, so come on down when you're done." I went back to the kitchen where I prepared us 2 plates and set them out on the dining room table. Since Angela was so dolled up, I decided I would go ahead and light a candle and pour us 2 glasses of wine. I had just taken a few bites when she came in. She was wearing a stunning black dress. Hair, makeup were completely done to the max. She looked incredibly sexy. She looked at her plate then back to me, then lifted her small clutch purse. "I told you I was going on a date, you didn't need to make me a plate." I looked at her and said, "Stop already with that nonsense." She replied, "It's not nonsense, I'm going on a date, I'll be home in a few hours. You don't have to wait up." Then she just turned and left. I was still sitting there with my plate in front of me. Just kind of dumbstruck. Did she actually just leave to go on a date? After 30 seconds I got up and walked over to the door, and her car was pulling out of the driveway. As she was driving away she spotted me and just gave a little wave. I went back into the house and grabbed my phone. We have had location sharing for several years now, so I followed her drive. She went to Red, which is one of our favorite places. She really did go on a date. I tried calling her 4 times and got no answer. Then I texted her. She finally responded when I said I was going to come down to the restaurant. She texted me, "Do not do that, I told you what I was doing, we can talk about this when I get home." I was totally mind blown. My lizard brain was saying go down there but ultimately reason prevailed. I stewed in the house for a while unsure of what to make of this. 2 hours ticked by and I knew the place closed soon. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of thinking I'd just sat here waiting for her. So I went into the guest bedroom and laid down. It was about 75 minutes later that she walked in. I pretended to be asleep. I was really hurt by what she did. I can't believe she went on a date. My mind just kept having all these thoughts for what seemed like hours but wasn't. Who did she go on a date with? What did they do after? Then it just sort of hit me. I guess she is done with me. 32 years and this is it. We didn't even have a proper conversation. There haven't been any real issues in the last few years that she has brought to my attention, so I don't think I necessarily did anything wrong. I read a lot, so I know this kind of thing happens. I like reading the personal stories people tell. Sometimes people just fall out of love. I guess that's what happened to my wife. She just fell out of love with me. Not necessarily anyone's fault, but still really hard for me to accept. The worst thing is that she just decided to just move on. I don't know why I didn't get the courtesy to talk this out. Or why she didn't ask to separate first. Why did she just start dating? She should have just asked for a divorce first, then she could date all she wanted. I was tearing up a little when she came into the guest bedroom. "What are you doing in here?" I turned and just looked at her. I had managed to cut the tears off. She continued. "Come to bed." I paused for only a moment, then got up. I followed her into the bedroom. She asked me to unzip her and I did. I was just silent the whole time, totally confused about how to act or what to do. Finally, I asked, "Where did you go?" She said, "Red, it was really good. I probably should have stuck to one drink, but I did have two." My heart sank. She was so flippant, so nonchalant about the whole thing. "Who did you meet?" She just answered, "His name is John Stanton. He is the cousin of my friend Helen. She set us up." It was kind of awkward at first, being a blind date and all. We were meeting for the first time. So I didn't really know how to act. Plus, I have never been on an actual date before, so that was also weird. But Helen did good. He was very good looking and charming. I could not believe my ears. Who was this woman? "That place closes at 10. It's 11:30. Where did you go after dinner?" She was removing her makeup at her vanity but kept answering, "Oh, nowhere. We just sat in his car and talked." There was physical pain in me I had never known before, yet I persisted. "Is that all you did in his car?" She had finished cleaning up and was now getting undressed. She progressed from her evening wear to completely naked to an old t-shirt and pajama pants as she said, "No, I mean mostly just talked. I was tipsy right after dinner, so I was trying to sober up more so I could drive. We talked for 40 minutes. He eventually kissed me and we made out a little. I was feeling more sober after a few minutes and called it a night. We are going to go out again next Friday, so don't make any plans for the both of us." At that point she laid down in the bed. I was just sitting at the foot of the bed completely shell-shocked. As I stared at the carpet, numb to the betrayal I was feeling, she said after a few seconds, "Are you going to lay down? It's pretty late." I was like a zombie. I dropped down to my usual boxer shorts, only sleep attire, and climbed in next to her. I don't know how long I just stared at the ceiling. I just kept staring even as she scooted back to me, pressing her back and butt against me in the familiar way we always sleep. My thoughts on how my wife was leaving me, how she was searching for a new man to replace me and was just going to keep our marriage going until she found one. It was a cruel twist of fate. Still, I felt like she at least owed me some answers. I would get those the next day before I started packing my things. I got up this morning and my wife was still in bed. It wasn't long, by the time I got out of the bathroom, which was only a few minutes, she was up. She made the bed real quick, then took my place in the master bath while I headed downstairs. I sat down at the kitchen table. Wasn't doing anything, just staring. My wife came down not long after and made us a small breakfast. She was acting as though nothing was off. Like it was any old Saturday morning. She began making small talk about what we should get done today. I couldn't take it anymore. "Are we going to talk about last night?" She looked up at me and asked, "What would you like to know?" I had a very standoffish tone. "Why did you go on a blind date?" She didn't change her demeanor one bit. "Well, I know that's kinda crazy, seeing someone you've never met before, but I want to date. I have never dated, and I think it sounds fun." It was fun. I'm glad I got over my skepticism. I was stunned. There it was. She was auditioning my replacement. "So that's it. You're going to be going on blind dates? I have no say in this?" She softened a little. "Hun, does that bother you? I didn't mean to make you worry. I'm sorry, I don't have to do that. I'll stick to people I know and vet more going forward. What about you? What are you going to do? You don't have to put yourself out there. You can do whatever. I know there are things you've always wanted to do. Just like I've always wanted to date. The fact that it was a blind date is the point. But I didn't say that. I was too out of it just hearing her. This is so easy for her, how? Of course there are things I want to do, but that doesn't mean I want to throw away my marriage to do them. She talked a little bit more after that last comment, but I can't remember any of it. She said some things about changes or dynamics or something. I really can't remember. It was like my brain shut down. My wife is dating and I'm supposed to do what in the meantime? She is out trying to find her next husband, for some reason doesn't think she should divorce me first, which is just unbelievably selfish, and I'm supposed to scratch items off my bucket list until then. I don't know what I'm going to do. Live, I guess, and look for the next Mrs. Powell. Do I even want another Mrs. Powell? Honestly, my biggest debate at this point is what if anything do I tell the kids? Their parents are divorcing, their mother is looking for a new husband. I hope they won't take it too hard. This has been a strange and challenging time. My wife has been dating John Stanton, who operates a power washing business, for the last month. At first it was just dinner dates. They went on like 4 of those. Then on this past Friday she told me she wasn't coming home, that she was staying with John overnight. When she got home yesterday around noon I asked what she did. She looked at me like I was crazy. I spent the night at John's, she said in a confused tone. Doing what? I asked in an accusing tone. She looked around, still feigning confusion. We had sex. Twice. That was a dagger in the heart, I thought. Guess she found her man. I shook my head and walked away. She followed me and asked if something was wrong. I just said, no, I know where I stand. She said in a matter-of-fact way, I'm sorry you're feeling this way. It wasn't the first time, I kind of assumed you knew that. Do you need anything? It is normal to feel the way you are, so if you want to talk we can. Why would I want to talk about another guy sleeping with my wife? I just told her no and went about my day. This isn't the worst part though, she just left on another date today. With a different guy. But she literally told me yesterday that she was going back out with John next Friday. I can't make sense of any of this. If she didn't think John was the guy, why sleep with him on Friday? And plan another date with him? And I know this guy she went with today. It's flipping Dan Scott. I bought my last 2 vehicles from him. Those will be the last 2, I can tell you that. The most confusing thing is that she keeps treating me like she wants me to be her husband. Actually better, I won't lie. Things may have been a little stale before. I never thought this would happen. We definitely still loved each other. Well, I thought we loved each other. She probably still loves me, but isn't in love with me. It happens, I read about it all the time. Anyway, like I said, it had gotten a little stale. Yeah, we still had sex some and spent time together, but it was really routine. This past month she has been coming on to me pretty often. Like 4 or 5 times a week. I know she is out looking for a new husband and I should cut her off, but you know what? I don't care. The getting is good and I'm going to get. She also keeps asking me to do stuff with her. So we went to the theater together. She got tickets to a Bills game. I don't get it, she's acting like she was back when we were newlyweds. It's just really odd behavior. If you don't love a guy anymore, and want to be with other people, then why put so much effort into the relationship? She has to have some sort of ulterior motive here. I mean, I keep wondering why she won't just end our marriage. My guess is she wants me to, so that I look like the bad guy. Well, I'm not going to do that. Nor am I going to decline these invites and initiations she keeps making. 2 can play this game. And I've been playing it. I have been doing all the things I wanted to do. Not since that very first date she went on have I stayed at home and stewed in my own self-pity. I go out with friends. I've hit several bars in town, gone axe throwing. No, I'm not just sitting around waiting while she's out with these other guys. The only thing is, I am getting a little lonely while she's out. I didn't think I would be. But knowing she's out there looking for my replacement hurts, because I'm not looking for her replacement. I don't even really want to replace her. I just feel like I don't have a choice in this matter. She is dating. I guess I should do the same thing, but I have never been on a date in my life. You know, it was 8th grade with Angela. I passed her a note asking if she wanted to go out with me. She looked at me and nodded. We then exchanged phone numbers, which were home phone numbers. Sure, we went out together, but those weren't getting to know you dates. We already knew each other. I wouldn't even know how to act on a date, or what's protocol. I've never used a condom before. Do I need one? Oh God, is she using condoms when she's out with John Stanton? I can't think about that right now. I'm just not sure about any of this. But I know eventually she is going to drop me whenever she finds the right guy, so the clock is ticking here. I don't want to be left a bitter old man sitting around a 1-bedroom apartment waiting to die alone. Guess at some point I'm going to have to put myself out there and see what modern women are into. 6 months ago my wife decided she was going to start dating. It began on a blind date with a guy named John Stanton. It definitely did not end there. It doesn't even seem half the time like she is trying to find a new husband. Some of these guys she has been seeing she barely spends any time with at all. Dan Scott is a good example. She was going on a date with him that one Sunday, but she came back to the house like an hour later. I figured it just didn't work out, but now every few weeks on a Sunday, she will tell me she is going to see Dan, and then comes back like an hour later. How in the hell do you even build a rapport with someone in that short of a time? Not really my concern, just find it curious. She still keeps up this happy wife charade. I can't even tell you how many dates her and I have been on. I still accept almost every time unless it conflicts with plans I already have. I'm not giving up on this, she will break and leave before I do. Although it does get really difficult sometimes, especially when curiosity gets the best of me and I ask her about her plans or what she did while she was out. It's not even curiosity sometimes, it's just a habit. You ask a woman about herself every day for over 30 years, it just becomes second nature. She does not hold back. And believe me when I say ignorance is bliss. I will never get the mental image of some of the things she's done out of my head. Hell, I do not even begin to know the exact number of men she has been out with. But it has to be at least 10 men. Some of them are like 25 years old. How in the hell are you going to marry some guy that's only 3 years older than your own daughter? Speaking of the kids, they are still totally in the dark about our impending divorce. I can't bring myself to say anything. When they visit or are home for breaks, my wife ceases all extramarital activity and just spends time with the family. So at least they aren't asking any questions at this point or noticing anything out of the ordinary. I was going along pretty well for the first 4 months after this all started. I had joined a bowling league, I started going out with a couple of single guys from work, they have been a real blast. Yet I really started to find myself feeling lonely. My wife, while putting in effort when she was home with me, was still going out 1-2 nights per week. I guess it started to show around this time because she recommended that I got on a dating app and find someone else for myself. That in itself hurt, because it was her blatantly saying she didn't want me anymore. She wanted me to be with someone else. She then sent me a link to an app. Field is what it was called. I went ahead and filled out all the information and got myself a profile. I didn't really know what to put, so I kept it pretty simple. This didn't get me anywhere, so then Angela got on it and filled in some more about me. That seemed to work because I got matched with a local woman almost right away. Her name is Sarah, F41. We started just by talking. It was intoxicating getting to know this woman. I hadn't felt this way in a really long time. We talked about everything. I told her about my job, and my kids. We both really love the Buffalo Bills, it was just easy. She has worked as an esthetician for 20 years and has a huge client base. She has one son who is 17 years old and a high school senior. The only thing we don't talk about is past or current relationships. She was real clear early on that she was not interested in that, if I was dating other people as well. At the same time, she wouldn't be sharing anything with me about past relationships. I was completely fine with this. I mean, why would I date more than one person at a time anyway? You can't really determine if someone is the one if you're constantly throwing new people in the mix. That's something my wife could use a lesson in. Well, in the 6 weeks that Sarah and I have been together, we have done a lot of great stuff. Our Friday night dates are always the highlight of my week. Angela also seems to be happy for me, which is weird, but I guess it eases the guilt that I am finding my next spouse as well. Maybe she will even be inspired by Sarah and I to settle down and do this right. As of right now, I am still doing my dates and sleeping in the same bed with Angela, but I feel like that may change in the next few weeks as Sarah and I progress our relationship. In all, this isn't what I wanted, or thought would happen. I thought Angela and I would be together forever. At least I know I can build a future with Sarah. I have never been more embarrassed in my entire life than I was last tonight. I'll just start from the beginning. I have been dating this woman, Sarah, for about 9 months now. It has been going great. I spend at least one night a week with her. We also get the chance to meet for lunches and stuff like that pretty often. She usually comes to my house as my wife typically goes out or stays somewhere else 1 or 2 nights a week, so I try to match that with Sarah. We spend tons of time each day messaging. It has been a breath of fresh air these months after my wife decided she was leaving me. Which she still has not done, and still acts like we are a happy couple every day of the week. 3 weeks ago I sat my wife down and told her I was no longer willing to be intimate with her. Sarah and I had begun saying, "I love you" at this point. I just felt like I was cheating on Sarah now that we were obviously exclusive. Angela was hurt and told me so, even saying that this could put a strain on our marriage. That was the weirdest statement ever. What about our marriage? How is it not already strained by her auditioning a couple dozen other guys to replace me? Anyway, I put that past me. We still go out to dinner and stuff, but I now sleep in the guest bedroom. I did not tell Sarah any of this because she has that strict rule about no past or current relationships being brought up. Which seems overly specific to me, but I let it go. I made the mistake one time of bringing up Angela and she corrected me very quickly. It was over, but she was very assertive in that moment and I dare not press that again. I asked Sarah this past week if she would go on a weekend trip with me. She said she had to check a few things. She got back to me a few hours later with a resounding yes. I was very excited. I had booked a bed and breakfast about 3 hours away. I got us a reservation at a very nice local restaurant. The town was full of little stores and antique shops, which is something we are both interested in. We arrived Friday night and had a wonderful evening. Ate dinner at a nice bar and grill, then back to the room for a very intimate night. The next day we enjoyed the alone time until about midday. We ventured out and shopped for a few hours before heading back to the room to get cleaned up. What I didn't tell her is that I had a carriage ride booked for us to take us to the restaurant. Prior to this evening I had visited a lawyer and had divorce papers drawn up to serve to my wife. She will be served on Monday. After the carriage ride picked us up, which it appeared Sarah really enjoyed, I made my true intentions known. See, I'm a 47-year-old man who knows he wants to share his life with someone. I shared with Sarah my thoughts and feelings about her. How much I love her, and how she makes me feel as a man. Then I told her that I wanted to spend my life with her, and pulled a beautiful diamond ring. I got on my knee in the carriage and asked her to marry me. I did not get the reaction I expected. She began to tear up and said, "Why are you doing this?" I was as dumbfounded as I was that day Angela told me she was going on a blind date. She looked at me and said, "I have no desire to leave my marriage. I care about you and love you, but this was never going to be the outcome." I couldn't believe my ears. She was married. Why in the hell is she out here on a date with me if she is already married? I looked at her, hurt in my eye. "You're married?" She was noticeably alarmed by my question. "Yes, how did you not know that?" "I mean you're married too, right?" I didn't answer, I was too upset. I jumped down from the carriage ride, and honestly feel lucky I didn't hurt myself. I began walking back towards our room. The driver noticed and stopped when I saw Sarah begin to get out. I picked up my pace. I had no desire to hear her out at this time. I noticed she got back in the carriage and was taken back to the room ahead of me. That was fine, whatever. When I got back she was trying to talk to me, but I just ignored her. We had ridden together, so I knew I couldn't just leave her here 3 hours from Rochester. I told her to pack her things and to please not speak to me. I needed to come down from this. She seemed very annoyed and confused, which I also found infuriating. This woman has been cheating on her husband with me for the past 9 months. That is just irreconcilable. I put my ear pods that Veronica and Tom got me for Christmas in and refused to talk the entire drive back. When we arrived she said, "I'm in an open marriage. It was on my bio when you first messaged me." "So are you, why are you acting like this?" I just said, "Communication styles aside, I haven't felt married to my spouse since she started looking for my replacement. I even have her being served divorce papers on Monday. I thought you were the one, I guess the joke's on me." At that point I drove off, headed back home. Sarah has not messaged me since. When I arrived at my house there was an unusual car in my driveway. I thought to myself, I cannot deal with this right now. I'm just going to go in and go to the spare bedroom. When I entered, I had hoped they were somewhere else, but no, Angela and this other couple were sitting in the living room drinking some wine. As I tried to just walk by, Angela called out to me, "Gerry, what are you doing here? Where's Sarah? I thought you had the big weekend planned." I looked over at her and her 2 guests. Thankfully the guy was dressed normal, but Angela and this other woman were both in lingerie. I just shook my head. Unfortunately I had a tear in my eye, and when she looked at me with such concern I broke down a little. There was an audible gasp as for the first time I let the pain in. She hugged me. The guests got up as to leave, but before they could it just came out, she was cheating on her husband. Angela took a step back, and we were unfortunately blocking the escape route of her 2 guests. Angela in a very confused tone, "What do you mean cheating? I thought she was in an open marriage just like us. I mean you 2 met on field." I pulled back and looked at her. She said the same thing. "What does our communication style matter? It doesn't matter how well you communicate, if you're just going to do whatever you want. Just like you asked me to be open, then like a month later you started dating that John guy, and it's only gotten worse since." So yeah, I agreed, But I haven't been telling you much since you decided you needed a new husband. Angela looked at me with a very concerned face and said slowly, Gerry, what do you think an open marriage is? I kind of looked at her guests that had shocked faces, then down at Angela as she had the most concern I had ever seen in her eyes. It's just being open about your feelings and communicating. Angela stumbled back. Gerry, an open marriage is when a couple agrees that dating other people and having sexual relationships with others is allowed, yet they still intend to stay married and be a committed couple. I looked at her blankly. Yet my mind exploded. What? Why would anyone agree to that? I was in a trance. That's what she has been doing this whole time? Finally I responded. So you haven't been looking for a new husband? Angela. Oh my God, Gerry, no. I love you. I don't want another husband. It was just that we had only ever known each other to any degree. I mean, we've been together since the 8th grade. I just thought we could both have some new experiences. I thought things were going great until a few weeks ago when you moved into the spare bedroom. I could not believe what I was hearing. This whole time, all the men, and I guess women that she has slept with were all just for fun. There was this insane awkwardness in the room. We were still blocking the door for the other couple to be able to leave. The male half finally made a throat-clearing noise and we moved out of the way. The woman put on a coat and they both left. Then much to my dismay, I could hear both of them loudly say in unison, "Oh my God." Angela and I spent the night talking. I remember when she asked for the open marriage. I really did think it just meant being honest. Thinking back now, it makes more sense when she brought it up, and when I agreed, she asked me about limitations, boundaries, and rules. Which I stupidly said, why would anyone need any of those things in an open marriage? All confident and sarcastic. I agreed to an open marriage for the last 13 months and didn't even know what I had agreed to. I am a moron. I told Angela about the divorce papers and the proposal. She is pretty hurt by that. And we have both agreed to start couples counseling. Angela did ask me to move back into our bedroom and I did so last night. Which I am taking as a good sign that she wants to save our marriage as well and work past this. I also could use the therapy, as finding out that not only did your wife have sex with 19 other men, she also outdid you on sleeping with other women 2-1. It would have been 3-1, but I interrupted the party. I don't know. I just don't know anymore. Did the real world pass me by? I'm sitting here thinking, how could I not figure this out, in 13 months? Why didn't I just end things with Angela, or at least speak up right away? I'm so conflicted. On one side I do feel betrayed by her and I'm angry about all that she did. At the same time though, I literally told her to go out and have fun. I agreed to all of this, and when it bothered me, I kept it to myself. I do have to say it did lead to some positives. We dated and had sex way more often. I also got to be with someone else, which I had always wondered about. I made some new friends and did things I probably wouldn't have otherwise. At the same time, my wife went off the deep end and she never noticed or checked in with me. I made a fool of myself in front of Sarah, and that couple, who I don't even know. I wouldn't be surprised if the tale of the oblivious husband is all over the internet by now. I just hope my real name doesn't end up in there. I'll be calling tomorrow and stopping the serving of the divorce papers. I'll also send Sarah an apology and explanation. She deserves that much. I don't think I will try and rekindle things. Angela and I both agreed to stop the open marriage. I think we both want to see how much repair we can do before we make any decisions. Story 2, I am 18, broke up with my girlfriend, F18, after cheating on me 5 times. TLDR, my girlfriend, whom I loved the most, cheated on me 5 times. I let myself be controlled, manipulated and used for the sake of loving her. Now she is the one accusing me of cheating. I broke up with her, but now I feel lost and don't know how to start over again. I am 18, had this girlfriend, F18, for 1 year and 2 months. To make things easier, let's just call her by the name of Chi. So Chi and I is something you would call high school sweethearts. As a little bit of background, during my high school I had a pretty good reputation. I was the president of the highest organization in the school. I had the highest grades and I have a good background, family and my relationship with friends and teachers. She, on the other hand, transferred on 11th grade while I'm on 12th grade. She is this cheerful type of girl, but has a bad relationship with her family, a broken family, with her mom leaving her and her father, and eventually ended up with another guy. She isn't really the best at academics, but she works hard and eager to learn. Our encounter started when she transferred to the school. We ended up a school year apart but on the same strand and specialization. She caught the attention of my friend when she was reciting during their lesson, with my friend commenting how we are alike. At first I didn't really pay it any attention and just continued what I'm doing. However, as a new student in the school, she piqued my interest. She then began approaching me and asking me for an autograph and saying how she idolizes me at school. She would approach me cheerfully and ask for my autograph every day, so naturally she caught my attention. We sort of got into conversations, having to know each other, and we became close with each other. I started developing feelings for her but was uncertain with myself at the time. I eventually decided, or at least tried, to stop my feelings after knowing she has a boyfriend at the time. However, she would still continue to be with me and be so close to me that people actually started suspecting that there was something going on between us. I paid it no mind and just considered everything as a friendly type of relationship. There was one time when we stayed at school until evening to organize for an upcoming event when she decided to stay and wait for me. When the preparations ended, we got into a deep conversation before going home. There she opened up about her family problem, basically vented about her whole situation, to which as a friend, I offered her a shoulder to lie on. I already had a suppressed feeling for her back then, so knowing her even more was more than welcome for me, but that's just it. I didn't really took advantage of the situation and just listened to her talk. I guess it was this time that I really have that feeling of wanting to be with her at her hard times. There is just something about wanting to be by her side after seeing the opposite of her usually cheerful smiles. I guess that day was very important as it was the day I wanted to know more about her. We continued our days as usual. However, as days goes on, we get more and more closer than usual. There are even days when friends would question my relationship with her and I will just dismiss it as, we're really just friends. She eventually vented to me about how she broke up with her boyfriend and wanting to have someone stay by her side until she heals again. I actually told her that she can share that burden with me, and if she wanted to, I can be someone she can rely on. It was basically a hidden confession of mine, since I'm the type who likes to hide feelings behind words, but I guess she didn't catch that one. We still continued our days as usual. Months passed and we grew closer and closer to the point that even I can no longer deny that I already developed my feelings for her. I waited for Christmas and New Year. 2 chances and I blew it off, haha. I eventually just decided to keep it to myself and have these unrequited feelings. That was until January of last year that while we are talking through phone, we eventually get into the topic of who our crushes are. I tried to avoid the conversation until she said that she likes me. Smiling from ear to ear, I didn't speak for a few seconds till she says that, well, she at least need a reply. I reciprocated her feelings and admitted that I had feelings too. We then decided to meet up and talk about each other. Now, it isn't a we admitted our feelings so we started dating type of situation. There are courtships and getting to know each other, and we only got together till the March of the same year, and it was the happiest day of my life. We did all sorts of a young couple would do. We were passionate with each other and we have a pretty strong relationship. Our first challenge was when we actually made our relationship public. I got so many questions about us, and I heard many feedbacks, both positive and negative. Many are concerned about me and how I might be careless with my studies now that I have a relationship to focus on. Typical comments when entering a relationship in high school. Many are also saying how they never really expected me to be with her considering our conflicting backgrounds and my high position in the school, etc. Heck, even teachers were involved with our relationship. I just brushed it off and says that I do truly loved her and that I really wanted to be with her and that it is a decision I made for my own. They said that though they don't oppose my decision, I should still be careful not as to get caught up with this relationship. We got through many of these challenges together, and even after months, our relationship only got stronger. As time goes on, we have encountered yet another challenge. I will be away for college and that she and I will eventually engaged into long-distance relationship. We prepared months for it. We made promises, assurances with each other saying I will wait for her in college and we will go through college together. We considered many things and sufficient to say we really got ourselves ready to face the whole thing. She was assuring, she was really passionate about it, that I can't help but feel that things are just going to be all right. However, 5 months passed by and I stumbled upon something in her alternative Facebook account. She recently gave it to me. There I discovered that she has been in contact and having flirtatious conversation with her ex-boyfriend for 3 months into our relationship. She says how we are actually just acting couples and how she still wanted him to come back. The conversation ended with them actually cutting ties with each other after 3 months of our relationship. I was speechless. It's like the sky just fell down on me. I felt heavy. I felt betrayed. I asked her to meet up and confronted her about it. She cried saying she's so sorry and how that was in the past and how she loved me now more than anything and how she can't lose me. I didn't know what to feel. It's like all these emotions just got bottled up on my heart and got all clogged up that I don't even know how to feel anymore. I decided to tell her to give me more time to think and that I was really hurt with the whole situation. She says that she'll do anything to win my trust back. Oh, how I wish I just ended it there and then. It was cheating and I should have never tolerated it, but here we are. She begged me every day how she will never do the same mistake again and how she will become a better person if I just give her another chance. As cliché as it might be, I did believe in second chances, so I gave her. It took weeks for me to go back the way I was, but I can't deny that what she did left a deep wound in my heart. I decided to forgive her and that I really hope she can be the better person she told me to be. A month passed and it is time for me to leave the town and go to the city to enter university. Our days was full of us just chatting about how we love each other and how we missed each other. Occasionally I would go back for a few days and we would meet up. Our plans were still being put in action and we are still having a strong relationship. It is not totally avoidable, but we eventually get into arguments once in a while. But even so, even with the new environment I was in with meeting new people, I remained faithful and loyal to her. However, no matter how strong your feelings are, and no matter how loyal and loving you are, things will go wrong. The next parts will just be the instances of cheating and micro-cheating my ex-girlfriend did. The first one, second instance she micro-cheated was when she brought one of her guy friend home for lunch. A close friend of her told me how they saw Chi and that guy walking together going to her home for lunch after school. Take note that this guy was not his ex. It was a different guy. I asked this friend of hers to just observe them for the time being because I didn't want to jump into conclusions. It was only when their teacher contacted me about how they see her with the same guy for almost every day during lunch and asked if we are still okay. I said that I will look into it and thanked her for watching her out for me. I confronted her about it as she argued that there was nothing wrong with it since she was just helping this guy friend out. I said that it was wrong in so many ways. She can't just bring a guy home every day and expect nothing wrong. I asked her if I did the same, how will she feel? She then eventually told me that she will stop interacting altogether to the guy and she says that she'll just stop interacting with anyone else altogether since I didn't want to. She says that she's worried about what I said, that, what if I also bring a girl home for lunch, and made me promise not to talk to anyone else in school as she's worried. Really unreasonable thing to do, especially how she was the one who did it. It was a long argument but I eventually forgave her. Now take note that this "you can't interact with other people" rule will still be in effect throughout my college days, which is unreasonable as it made my studying and social life much worse, but I still agreed to it if it means she won't do what she did anymore. We got into a fight again, which leads us to another instance of cheating. Hurted by the first one and now the second one, I decided to think things through again after our fight. I said that I needed time because I was so hurt and that I needed space to think about things. She would beg me for days until I eventually gave up and just forgive her. She says that she misses me so much and that she will be a better person again. I fell for those words. Not until a friend of hers messaged me again saying that the past few days, when we got into a fight, she was rather very close in school to someone and they wondered what's up. Them being close to the guy, the one she was close with, and mind you this was yet another guy, messaged the guy and asked if something was up with them. They then showed me the conversation with the guy as well as a picture of him with Chi together in a cafe near the school. The picture really got me upset, but the conversation was even more concerning. Apparently the guy confessed to Chi and Chi actually gave the guy permission to court her. While we are still in a relationship. Having those evidences in my hand, I decided to confront Chi and never told her friend, to see if what they provide me was also true and that to see if they are really doing this out of concern or not. We got into another big fight and she argued that she did that because she thought I don't love her anymore, which is unreasonable as I never really said we should break up. But even so, we had a fight and she was already allowing someone to talk to her like that and court her. She then talked to me about how I was at fault and that if I never should have let her go, she wouldn't have talked to that guy in the first place. Yes, a manipulation and projection at play here, but I'm an idiot how still have my rose-tinted glasses and was still so in love with her, so I took it and forgave her again for another time and continued our relationship. As time went on I really started to feel as if I'm just being used. I got many advices from teachers who I don't even vent out my feelings to them anyway, but they do see what Chi was really doing in my absence. They are concerned but I just dismissed everything because, well, I was still in love. She fights with my classmates just because I was asked to collect payments for an upcoming event. She would ask me to block my relatives who would just ask me questions and didn't allow me to talk to them, virtually and personally. She even asked me to block my old friends, which they understood but let me off with a warning. I let myself be controlled by her under the context that we really just love each other. The more recent instance of micro-cheating was during their immersion. It was some sort of a mandatory thing in school how they will be deployed and experience firsthand the work environment related to their strand. Now many schools were in this immersion so I expected her to meet few people there. Remember that until this time she still doesn't allow me to talk to other students in my school, monitoring my account and will fight me even if I just have a classmate asking for notes or the schedule, etc. I was eventually told once again by one of her friends about how she is close once again with a fellow student there. And sent a picture of them close together. When I went home and met her, I still didn't told her however. While we're together I checked her phone and there I saw a picture of Chi together with a guy. The same guy that her friend told me before. Mind you that this was yet another guy, different from the previous guys. That's when I confronted her again. She says that it was just a friend from the immersion and that nothing was going on. I chose to believe her in the end, but I just expressed my feelings of how she didn't want me to talk to my classmates, let alone even take pictures with them, which she did. I told her how she breaks her own rules and expected me, who endured the difficult life in college of being isolated just because she told me to be okay with it. She said that it was just nothing, but I really felt hurt seeing how she was with a guy in those pictures. I was really hurt and really don't know how to react anymore. Because of all these, my academic performance were also affected. But I was just doing these things for her. As usual, I forgave her for the whole thing. She made me block the friend who told me, saying that that friend was just jealous of us. To which I did, and we continued our relationship. After our first year anniversary, everything just went downhill. The final instance of cheating she did was when we were happily chatting and flirting with each other and she just suddenly stopped replying. Curious, I opened her account and there I saw her talking to another guy and having flirtatious conversation. Again, another guy, different from the guys before. And I just snapped. I confronted her about it. I was furious. I let out everything. I brought up breaking up with her as I can't do this anymore. Everything that happened in the past, all the pain I endured just came back and filled my heart with all sorts of emotions. It all boiled down to me asking for space and she agreed. Friday during that she was still begging me to not leave her. Friday night she stopped responding to my messages altogether. And Saturday morning she told me we should break up. I began moving on. I started by unblocking people, friends and relatives, on social media. It was not long until questions poured in about our relationship. But one thing really stuck to me. Her closest friend, which we will just call Joyce, told me everything. About how they wanted to tell me how she was just playing with me as she gets close to guys and how she was with anyone else. About how she will always play the victim whenever we fight. About how she will turn the story around, manipulate it in order for it to be more favorable to her. And most of all about how on Saturday, the day of our breakup, she brought someone home. And that someone was the guy she was chatting with. The day of our breakup and she was already having someone, yet she accuses me of cheating. Of how cheating was the reason we broke up. But the real reason was her attitude and I just can't do it anymore. Just today I accidentally opened up her TikTok account as it was still logged in on my phone. I don't really use TikTok that much, but I just opened it to pass some time. There I saw a video she uploaded. It was about her boyfriend, the one she was chatting to. I felt dismayed. I feel heavy. Here I am being accused of cheating, from her posts, yet it is hard for me to move on. And there she is already with someone. I am no longer confident with myself. I feel like I was used. I let myself be manipulated, controlled. I loved her so much so that I still forgave her after going through all that because I accepted her. Now I just came into conclusion that she never really loved me, my very person. All she really wanted was the presence of someone. My presence. But even so, it doesn't have to be me. She just wanted the presence of someone, not who they are. Story 3. My kids knew about my wife's affair and helped her cover it up last week while my wife, F49, was taking a shower. I, M50, saw a notification pop up on her phone and went to open it thinking it was one of our daughters, Maddie F24 and Alice F26, confirming what time their girls' dinner was. Instead I saw an unsaved number saying "I can't wait to see you," and then kissing emoji. I froze for a second. I clicked on the message and saw a short thread mostly confirming dinner plans for that evening and how they missed each other and once a week just wasn't enough. I knew what I saw. 29 years of marriage down the drain. Hoping to catch her in a lie before she left the house, I texted both our daughters and asked them about girls' dinner. What happened next broke me to my core. Both girls confirmed the dinner and said they were excited. I couldn't believe it. Not proud of what came next. I turned her location sharing on with me and her phone and let her leave. I followed her to a restaurant and lo and behold, neither daughter was there but instead a man I knew was her boss. I was so heartbroken. Part of me was hoping I was just a paranoid freak and my daughters would be there happy to see me, but no, just my cheating wife and her AP. I took pictures of the two of them holding hands and kissing. I know I should have waited but I couldn't help myself, I was so angry. As soon as I got in my car, I opened the group chat we had as a family, sent them all the photos and said, "Glad you're enjoying girls' dinner together." I then turned my phone off and drove to my brother's house and asked to stay the night. I woke up the next morning to over 40 texts and 20 voicemails. My wife went through the cheater's playbook of excuses. I didn't even listen to her voicemails. I was about to respond with, "I will be getting a divorce, I recommend a lawyer." But my brother stopped me. He told me to meet with a bunch of lawyers first and make sure she couldn't use them. Instead, I just sent the group chat a simple message. "I am physically fine, but need time. I will come home when I'm ready." I then muted my phone. I called different lawyers that looked to be the best in town that morning for appointments. Met with all of them, and picked the one who looked ready to treat this as scorched earth as possible. Finally, after spending all day with lawyers, I looked through the messages and both my daughters were apologizing. My younger daughter, the daddy's girl of the two, was manic. She had texted me almost 50 times saying she never should have lied and hated it every time. Her boyfriend even reached out asking me to please reach out to her, that he didn't know what was going on but that she was on the verge of a panic attack. "Maddie, I love you but please understand that what you've done has hurt me deeply. I need you to give me space." I sent it and within seconds got a, "Okay, I'm so sorry. I never should have helped. I'll never forgive myself. I love you too." I didn't respond. Alice was different. We always had a good relationship but she was a mama's girl through and through. She said she was sorry but that I shouldn't throw away a good marriage because of one mistake. This made me furious. "Alice, this isn't a mistake, this is a betrayal. From my whole family. Please don't reach out again until I make first contact." She never responded but I know she showed it to me STBX because she started saying that I shouldn't take this out on Alice. I never responded. I'll never talk to her again except through lawyers. This all happened 5 days ago. I'm still at my brother's and can't contain my feelings. I cry every morning and most of the day. I oscillate between complete debilitating sadness and all-consuming anger. Losing my wife will be hard enough but how do I ever look at my children again? How do I even begin to forgive them? Alice is supposed to get married in the fall. I've been paying for almost everything, now I'm probably not going to go. I don't even know how to move forward. I am completely destroyed. I can't believe it's been a year since my original post. Some days it feels like it just happened yesterday and others I feel like it's always happened. There was never a before. My soon-to-be ex-wife, Julie F50, and I are still going through the divorce proceedings. We were forced to do a 6-month legal separation before we could start the divorce. I moved back home after a week and a half at my brother's. I served her with the legal separation a week later to ensure I had re-established that our house was still my home location. The terms were absolute hell. We had 1 year left on the mortgage so whoever was going to stay at the house was supposed to pay the full amount for the year. Of course, because she had been a stay-at-home mom 20 years ago until Maddie started pre-K, her decision that I was against. She used that against me, and she was allowed to stay at the house but we split the mortgage. I ended up moving into a 1-bedroom apartment. That's where I'm writing this now. Maddie and I made up somewhat quickly. She came to the house and refused to leave until I talked to her. She didn't throw a fit or anything, she just wouldn't leave. This went on for a couple weeks. Her boyfriend was annoyed. He kept coming over and hated the awkwardness but she would just say in front of Julie and I that she would not return to their apartment until she and I were talking again. At the time this was really annoying. I hated being there and Julie and I were fighting over the legal separation. But I eventually unleashed some frustration onto Maddie and she told me how she found out. Apparently at an actual girls' dinner 2 weeks prior to my finding out, Julie was quite drunk and let it slip. Alice tried to stop her but couldn't. Alice and Julie begged her to keep quiet until Julie could come clean to me. Maddie was crying as she said this and told me she now realizes that her mom had no intention of ever telling me. The girls' dinner lie was the first time she had lied to me about the affair and according to her mom, she was going to break it off with the AP and then tell me that night. We were both crying and Julie came in trying to defend herself and I unleashed all of my anger. I yelled like I had never done before. Maddie even had to calm me down. She didn't just manipulate me, she straight up used at least one of our daughters. It was unforgivable. That's when I just agreed to the mortgage split to get Maddie and I out of that house. Maddie moved back in with her BF that night and I found my current apartment. Maddie decorated it for me. Alice and I, unfortunately, are not on speaking terms. After the fallout, her fiancé called me and asked what was going on. He suspected that she was cheating. I told him that I had no reason to suspect that she was cheating, but that my wife had cheated on me, and Alice knew before me. Not sure exactly what happened next but it ended in them breaking up. Alice blames me, saying I should not have told him anything. Since coming to my apartment in tears and blaming me for everything she blocked me and we haven't spoken. I was able to get some money back from vendors I had dealt with directly but I know Alice kept some of the money for herself. I still have no idea how long Alice knew of the affair, and her lack of remorse likely means we will never have a relationship again. Alice and Julie are currently living together at the house. Julie is openly dating her boss now. He left and went to another firm when I caught them, scared he would lose his job. I'm embarrassed to say I'm jealous. Not of the two of them, they will implode I'm sure, but jealous of not being lonely. Maddie has been encouraging me to go out and helped me set up a dating profile. So awkward. She then called me a weirdo when my first match was with a 33-year-old single mom. We have a date planned for next week that Maddie encouraged me to go on. But I'm just not sure I'm ready to start over. Story 3. Aida for canceling my wedding after my fiancé cheated on me with the guy she told me she hates. So this is quite a long and sad story that I need to vent as is really hard for me to deal with so far. I, M24, recently proposed to my now ex-fiancé, F23, after 2 years of dating. We met by mutual friends at work. We started talking as friends, we went on dates, and on New Year's Eve we officially started dating. During the beginning of our relationship she mentions this guy, Marvin. According to her, Marvin has always have a crush on her, and during the first months of our relationship he texted her several times asking her to leave me and give him a chance. We used to say how pathetic this guy was and how she despises him for suggesting she would leave me for him. I must clarify I'm nothing special, I'm a 5'4" Asian nerdy guy. Time goes by and after 2 years on dating I decided to propose to her. So on New Year's Eve I gave her the ring and she say yes in front of her whole family. I have some money saved, she doesn't work, so I started looking for venues, catering, invitations, decor and everything. I spent a high amount of money as her parents are not in the position to help with the expenses and I have enough savings to go through this comfortably. One day, while we're running errands we started talking about having a threesome. We are in our 20s so there's a lot of things we want to try. We discussed for a while on how we could find someone and she quickly says, I have someone on mind. I asked who and she replies with Marvin. I know that was the first red flag, but I let it pass. I asked why him and she just answered she was sexually attracted to him. I asked about why she would say she hate him first and then choose him as her first option for a threesome and she replies is only a one-time thing. So I told her it was okay but we needed to talk later to set rules, limits, and I would like to talk to him personally before giving the green light. During the next couple of days she's acting really excited and she comes to me show me hotels, and when are we going to meet with him and how exciting everything is. I told her we need to talk things first as is not as easy as it sounds and we need to have some limits. After that, she calmed down for a day or two and starts to bring the subject up again. We reached a point where she insisted so much, and bring the subject up so many times I ended up saying to her that she either calm down or no threesome is going to happen. She apologized and mentions I was right but something didn't feel right. That afternoon we were having a nap and while she was sleeping I went through her phone and I found how she was cheating on me with him for a couple months now. They have been meeting while I was working and she even sent them one of those BDSM tests you can find online to see if his kinks matched with hers. To say I was furious is an understatement. She woke up while I was checking the phone and I confronted her. She started crying saying she was sorry and how she didn't know what she was doing. I packed my things and stormed out to stay at a hotel. That night I got a call from her parents saying how I was ruining the engagement and acting as a baby while I was the one who bring the topic of the threesome, and how her daughter wasn't at fault. I hung up without saying anything and started canceled everything I had for the wedding. She called me the next day apologizing and asking me to come back. Her whole family is sending texts asking me to man up, as I was the one at fault, and not breaking the engagement. Ada for canceling everything? Ada has no consensus bot. OOP was NTA update, September 5, 2024. Now let me address just a few things before continue. My ex stopped working to go to college. We met at work but she quit once we move in together. Yes, my now ex-fiancé told her parents we were breaking up because I suggested the threesome and got mad when she mentioned Marvin. And her parents believed her. Yes, I needed reassurance to make sure I was not the one in fault. I have been conditioned all my life to be a doormat so it's hard to stand for myself. Here's the update. After seeing all your messages I reached to my file so we agreed to meet at a nearby mall to talk about the reasons why I broke the engagement. I did have a good relationship with him as we both share the same interests and hobbies so I figure we could have a conversation. We met and even though he looked mad, he agreed to listen. I took screenshots of the conversations my ex-fiancé had with Marvin and I showed them to him. After looking at everything he told me my ex gave them a totally different story. According to what he told me, my ex went to them crying saying I was breaking the engagement because I wanted to have a threesome and once she picked Marvin as the third I snapped at her. He also mentioned Marvin has been going to check on my ex since my ex has been staying with them after we broke up. We went to my apartment and packed all of her belongings to move her out. The ring was at the apartment as well, so I kept it. New update. Final update, September 15, 2024. So after picking my ex's belongings, me and my FIL drove to his house. The ride there was awkward to say the least. When we get there we walked in and we saw MIL, my ex, and guess who else? Exactly, fucking Marvin. They were all at the living room. My ex looked like she had been crying for a while. Marvin was hugging her and MIL was seated next to her with a box of tissues. My MIL saw me enter and started asked FIL what I was doing there. He responded, "We all need to talk about the situation," and he came to clarify some things. We all sat down and Marvin was about to leave the room when FIL said, "No, please stay, you're part of this too." Marvin sat down but you could see he was not holding well. His right leg was bouncing and he tried his best not to make eye contact with me or my ex. FIL started saying that I accepted to continue with the engagement, which made Mill and my ex smile. However, I had one condition. Marvin must show him his WhatsApp conversation with my ex to him. At that moment, I was shocked. I was about to argue, however I understood something. Most likely my ex had deleted the convo with Marvin, but there was a chance Marvin didn't. Marvin tried to protest but my FIL insisted and asked him to do this for her daughter. My ex and Marvin glanced at each other and my MIL was quiet looking at FIL. Finally after that Marvin stood up and left without saying anything else. My ex started crying again and my FIL told her to shut up. He said I had shown him screenshots of their conversations and he was disappointed to raise a cheating slut. MIL was in disbelief so I showed her the screenshots too. They both screamed at her how could she do something like that on top of lying to their faces. At the end my FIL went to unload her belongings in the driveway and told her to look for some other place to stay as she wasn't welcome there anymore. FIL apologized to me and told me he would like to keep in touch to make sure I was okay. I came back home after all of that happened feeling empty. NGL. I think it was the adrenaline wearing off. I got one call of my ex but I didn't answer. I blocked the number and spoke with security at my building to trespass her if she comes by. I posted on FB and Instagram about what happened and made sure to post the screenshots of the conversation to make sure she cannot twist the situation with friends and family. I will get most of my money after canceling the venue, catering and other stuff, so I'm planning to move to another state. I got some STD tests done and I'm clean. And I'll be selling the ring to get my money back. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and hit that subscribe button to follow cheating love stories for more amazing videos. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next one.